Hey everybody, Chris Reagan here, welcome back to the channel.
The reason I look like a Bond villain is because my electric razor doesn't have enough charge to shave my whole beard, and I'm too much of a cheapskate to buy a new one, especially considering that the last new one I bought to replace this one broke down after a single use. So I have to distribute my shaving over 2 days so I can take a shower after each shave because I have very sensitive skin. Recently, something happened that had a moderate impact on a small amount of people. And everybody cared a lot about that little thing. And they did so in ways that demonstrated they had no idea what the fuck they were talking about. But let's start at the beginning, shall we? In December last year, something happened that everybody had seen coming for a long time. I am, of course, talking about the huge crash in the value of Bitcoin. The bursting of the Bitcoin bubble, as it were, that was hugely talked about in literally every platform that you could possibly think of. What happened was that the value of the Bitcoin currency suddenly skyrocketed in the beginning of the month after it had very steadily risen over the course of the year 2017, and then it peaked in the middle to end of the month, and then dropped drastically to the point where it is now. Right now, Bitcoin has the same value as it had at the beginning of last December, and it does look like it's slowly stabilizing itself. The plummet is certainly decelerating quite quickly, but there's really not enough data to tell. You can't really predict these things anyway. Everybody knew that this was going to happen eventually, especially the people who invested in Bitcoin. And everybody also still knows that this will happen again, because here's the shocker that you might not know about. The value of all currency fluctuates. And when we're talking about an experiment in creating a purely mathematical type of money, of course it's going to fluctuate a lot, because it hasn't even come close to its ultimate average yet. Following all current models and predictions and expert opinions and mathematical ways of looking at this, Bitcoin will eventually reach this average at some point that is much higher than the thing it reached last December. The date for this, by the way, is somewhere between 2023 and 2030. So there's going to be a lot of fluctuating between now and then still. This is one of the reasons why Bitcoin isn't an actual currency yet that is in wide use, because people just don't know what it's worth yet. And also because the vast majority of businesses just don't have the infrastructure yet to have you comfortably paying with Bitcoin, which may or may not have something to do with some very powerful forces at play who would love nothing more than seeing Bitcoin fail, but we'll talk about that a little later. But then something else happened. Something that is unique to cryptocurrency, something that can only happen with cryptocurrency and could never possibly occur with regular fiat currency. What happened was a Ponzi scheme. Except, wait, no, every single currency that has ever existed in the history of ever could have been used to do a Ponzi scheme. It's just that the people behind BitConnect happened to use Bitcoin. But what is a Ponzi scheme, really? Well, a Ponzi scheme, also known as a pyramid scheme, is an investment con that preys upon people who don't really understand how investing works. Like, say, for instance, a huge amount of people that were overwhelmed by their greed in 2017's Bitcoin craze without understanding how Bitcoin actually works. I'm looking at you, Mark, you trans-intellectual potato. The person running the con will approach potential investors and promise them huge returns on a fairly minimal investment in a fairly short period of time, often by employing the use of some esoteric means that makes the whole con believable. Like, for instance, a strange new digital currency that is widely believed to have magical money multiplying abilities. The investors will then sink money into the scheme, and the con man will approach new investors, giving them the same promise, and then use their investments to pay back the initial investors. This process is then repeated for a number of generations. Often the investors won't even get any money back, but instead will receive certificates that show them just how much they've earned, and possibly some minor dividends to actually have them feel some hard money in their hands. Very occasionally, the initial investors of a Ponzi scheme might actually make money off the Ponzi scheme without the need of being the con man who runs the Ponzi scheme. BitConnect went one step further and had their initial investors recruit more investors, who then recruited more investors, which is both lazy and genius. Much like those scummy skincare product companies, where you can employ your friends and then you make money and they don't. Then, when the scheme runs the risk of becoming unsustainable, the con man just takes the money and disappears into the night, never to be seen again. That is exactly what happened with BitConnect. Instead of using the US dollar or some other popular fiat currency, the con men just used Bitcoin because they knew it was worth a lot, and because they knew that people didn't understand how it worked, and ascribed to it powers that it did not have. If Bitcoin didn't have any value, BitConnect wouldn't have happened in the first place. But what really irritated me about this whole situation is not that there was a scam, but that everybody and their mums wanted to pin the blame for the scam on Bitcoin. Not the people who ran the scam, not the people who fell for the scam, but the currency that was used in the scam. That's like saying the US dollar is to blame for the existence of Charles Ponzi's Securities Exchange Company. A platypus could work out that that logic isn't exactly sound. The best thing about this is that most of the time when Bitcoin was blamed for the failings of BitConnect, the blame was put on it by implication, simply because the people who were covering it don't have any fucking idea what the fuck they're talking about, but because it's a topic that everybody's talking about, they just wanted to cover it anyway. Of course, hashtag not all, but boy, this atrocity, for instance, of an H3 video made me want to vomit blood. The video is even called How to Lose Your Life Savings Using Cryptocurrency, which isn't technically incorrect because cryptocurrency was used in the scam, but it's like saying how to lose your life savings using US dollars. That would have made a similar amount of sense. I'm not going to show you any of the video because I would have to show the entire video to demonstrate that at no point do they make a distinction between BitConnect and Bitcoin. Just go watch it for yourselves and you'll see what I mean. Basically, the entire video they just make fun of this somewhat melted bronze statue of a human being for being, you know, like this.
BitConnect! Wow! BitConnect!
And I understand why. I understand that everybody who didn't invest in Bitcoin is super salty at the people who did invest in Bitcoin because they believed in it, and now they're super happy to see them fail. But Jesus fucking Christ. BitConnect had next to nothing to do with Bitcoin, and extra nothing to do with the bursting of the Bitcoin bubble. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and even Dogecoin are still valid cryptos to invest in, or at least they will be in a couple months, and at some point they will be just as viable as a payment option as usual fiat currency, if not even more so. Making it look as though cryptocurrencies have failed because of some entirely unsurprising fluctuations in their value plays right into the hands of some huge fucking banks who just want to see decentralized money they can't control dead. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if big banks were the people behind BitConnect, or at least had promoted BitConnect in some fashion, or made sure that it was covered extensively in the media. And who knows, possibly even some YouTubers. And I'm not shitting on H3 here, by the way. I love H3, it's one of my favorite channels, and they are by far not the only culprit in this whole situation. It's just that there are a lot of people, and they're just the most welcome example, because I feel like they did it the worst. Jesus Christ, maybe just do 5 minutes of fucking research before commenting on something that is happening. Just 5 minutes. And then you can make a video. How about that? Thank you very much for watching. Send this video to all of the YouTubers you find have done an utterly terrible job at covering this whole Bitcoin situation and the BitConnect situation and the bubble situation. Even H3, because, you know, it'll just for the selfish reason that it'll increase my reach. That's all I want. I want nothing more out of this. Also, Shadowrun people, there is a huge episode, almost 6 hours long, processing right now. I've uploaded it yesterday. I don't know why it's still going, but it is still going. So other than that, see you around, cunts!